I've said it before, and I will say it again. There is fake news on your television, too. It's not just something that happens in social media. The latest case in point, and it is a suspicious one, a series of Fox News broadcasts around the country on local stations about Social Security. Let's listen to a couple. Let's play the first one now.
4 more years is not only a positive campaign slogan, it's also a big worrywart coming to those on Social Security by 2022. The Social Security Board of Trustees said in its 2017 annual report that 2022 will mark the first time in 40 years that Social Security payouts more in benefits than it takes in. And so deficits will begin to be depleted out of the roughly $3 trillion in asset reserves. Across the board, cut-in benefit payouts of up to 23% may have to be made by then to keep payouts going through 2091 if Congress doesn't take stronger measures. Reasons for the problems include people are living longer, lower interest rates affect the yields on special issue bonds, and more baby boomers will be entering the system with not enough workers to cover for them.
Now, we will, in a moment, we will deconstruct some of the misapprehensions being promoted in this clip from WWCP TV, that television, Fox 8 affiliate. But first, let's listen to another clip because it wasn't the only one to go out recently.
Here's an alert for those of you who get Social Security. According to the Social Security Board of Trustees, 2022 will be the first time in 40 years more in benefits will be paid out than is taken in. Currently, Social Security makes monthly payments for 22.1 million workers. They estimate payouts will need to be chopped 23% in order to keep payouts going through the year 2091, or something else needs to be solved. Reasons for the issues include people living longer and lower interest rates, so they're not making as much money on what's going in.
Almost sounds like the same script, doesn't it? Two different Fox affiliates talking about the Social Security Trustees report, which, by the way, was issued almost a year ago. So why would two different stations be reporting about it now? And it wasn't just two different stations. There were other stations. For example, I'm looking at the Cedar Rapids affiliate of Fox News gave a very similar story, reported a similar story. Social Security Board of Trustees said in its 2017 annual report that 2022 will mark the first time in more than 40 years, etc. Very, very similar. In fact, altogether, according to an analysis, recent analysis by Media Matters, on May 21st alone, actually, Fox affiliates aired at least 93 different reports on that year-old trustees report about Social Securities. They were all Social Security. They were all very, very similar. They all said that that 2022 will be the first time in 40 years that Social Security pays out more in benefits than it takes in. So it then says, they're all, by the way, grammatically incorrect in one way or another, or use terminology wrong. For example, this one says, and so deficits are going to continue to be depleted. Well, no, deficits aren't what is depleted. The trust fund is what's depleted, and they all warn of a potential benefit cut of up to 23%, but none of them, as far as I can tell, explain that any cut in benefits would not happen in 4 years from now, would not happen in 2022, but would happen roughly 10 years later. So they all create an anxiety, they all create a panic, they all accelerate the time at which the problem supposedly will take place. They all underplay, or most of them fail to mention the fact that the Social Security trust funds have a surplus of, right now, funds of $3 trillion in the bank, and they also all cite the same problems, to wit, that reasons for the problems include people are living longer, lower interest rates affect the yields, I'm reading from the script now, and more baby boomers are going to be entering the system with really not enough workers to cover for them, which is really not true. In fact, one of the reasons why there are $3 trillion in these accounts is because baby boomers were required to, in effect, pay in advance for much of their own benefits after Social Security was adjusted in 1983. The so-called Greenspan Commission worked out between Ronald Reagan and Democratic Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill. Also, not mentioned in any of these minimum of 93 Fox reports, which were all coordinated together. Also not mentioned was the fact that if you lifted the payroll tax cap so that millionaires and billionaires paid out as much percentage-wise as other people, these problems would absolutely go away and you'd have money left over. Also not mentioned in these reports the other ways in which you could pay for it, like a financial transactions tax. Also not paid for it or mentioned in any of these Fox reports is the fact that these are just projections and they are subject to change. Also not mentioned in any of these Fox reports, Social Security is the only government program that's asked to project out its viability as far in the future as the year 2091. Now, when you see all these supposedly independent Fox News affiliates marching in lockstep, you can be pretty sure that an order has come down from the Republican Party, for whom these Fox affiliates serve as a kind of Pravda, which was the news outlet of the Soviet Union. They've all been instructed to scare people about Social Security. Why? Because you can be sure that Donald Trump and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell are going to be trying to cut your Social Security rather than ask millionaires and billionaires to pay their fair share. Just like Sinclair Broadcasting, which pretends its affiliates are independent too, these conservatives own our news media and they're trying to tell us what to think.